Stipe Miocic is the most disrespected UFC fighter of all time, or at least in the current UFC era. If you compare him to his peers that have amounted to about the same that he's amounted, he's definitely the one that always gets the most disrespected out of all of them. For example, if you compare him to guys that have similar amount of title wins like him, like Dominic Cruz or Aljamain Sterling, Stipe Miocic always comes out on bottom. People tend to give him the least amount of respect out of all of them. Hell, even fighters like Sean O'Malley with one title defense, Francis Ngannou with one title defense, Duplessis right now with zero title defense, Sean Strickland with zero title defense, all of them get more respect than Stipe Miocic. Paulo Costa, who never won a belt and who doesn't have knockout power, would have more favorable odds in the betting lines against killers like Jarrett Cannonier that he can never hope to beat, Hamzat Chimaev, and even in his last fight with Sean Strickland, then Stipe Miocic would have to beat any of the guys that he's already beaten. For example, Stipe Miocic was an incredible underdog in his first fight with Francis Ngannou, only to dominate him over 25 minutes. He was an incredible underdog to beat DC on their second fight, and he went out there and TKO'd DC in the fourth round, and then won their trilogy fight, which was titled Greatest of All Time Heavyweight Fight. And he won that fight with all the pressure that was on it. The same with, like, for example, Francis Ngannou. Francis has one win, one title defense. He gets more credit than Stipe. Even though they're 1-1, they never had their trilogy. People would give anyone else a better shot at basically anything in life than they would give to Stipe winning that trilogy, even though they're 1-1. And even though the general consensus is that if you dominate someone over 25 minutes, that is typically considered to be more dominant and more definitive than catching someone with a knockout shot. Knockout shots happen all the time. Like, for example, Rose knocking out Chang Wei Li. She caught her. The second fight was incredibly close. Either of them could have won. So catching someone doesn't necessarily mean that you're better than that other person. Leon Edwards catching Kamaru Usman, even though he was losing that whole fight and he lost a prior fight, 30-27, didn't win a single round and was losing the second fight 4-1 before he landed that knockout shot that only came after the referee separated them. But even though they're 1-1, and even though Stipe was able to come back and TKO Leonard Cormier in their second fight after being knocked out in the first, people deem it absolutely impossible for Stipe to have even stood a chance against Francis Ngannou in their trilogy fight, even though he clearly made a mistake by rushing in, which he wouldn't make in the trilogy. He won the first fight, and even Francis himself said that Stipe was not only still the toughest guy in the division, bar himself, but that Stipe could have won that second fight. He rocked him with a good shot. His timing for the takedown was impeccable. And obviously Stipe said that he would put on weight for the trilogy. The trilogy fight would have been compelling. Been compelling, but nobody would have given him a shot, just like nobody gave him a shot to reclaim his belt against DC, and he actually did it. Just like nobody gave him a shot to beat Francis the first time, and he actually did it. It's like people believe that this guy's a midget or something. He doesn't have any hands. He's 3 feet tall, 4 feet tall. He has less power than Paulo Costa. We're talking about a guy that's self-proclaimed 6'5". He's billed at 6'4". He's at least 6'3". He's not that much smaller than John Jones in terms of height. He's got an 80-inch reach. This is a big man that has knockout power. He has ended fights with one shot before. Verdum, Arlovsky, essentially. I mean, he gave some follow-up shots, but he knocked out Overeem. He knocked out JDS. He's got more knockout wins than John Jones for sure. I mean, throughout his career, and I'm a huge John Jones fan. I love watching him fight, and he's the GOAT. But Stipe has a lot more KO wins. Stipe has a lot more heavyweight experience. So he's used to fighting at this weight against the best guys. Francis Ngannou, Daniel Cormier 3 times. Junior Dos Santos twice. Overeem, Fabricio Verdum, Arlovsky, Mark Hunt, Ray Nelson. He's faced adversity before. His fight with Shane Del Rosario, he was losing on the feet, took him down and ground and pounded him. This is a guy that has found ways at heavyweight to win fights that he's been losing before. That Ngannou first fight, he had to overcome a lot of adversity. His second DC fight, he was losing that fight. He came back, he found the liver shot, found a way to win. This is what this guy has done throughout his entire career. And people act like this guy has no knockout power. He's got 0 wins. Let's start putting some respect on this man. Arman Tsarukyan never won a title. He lost on the regional scene before even getting to the UFC, where Stipe never lost on the regional scene. He's got 3 losses without even counting the Charles Oliveira fight, which I actually thought he lost. If you look at the scoring criteria says that almost ending the fight with a choke counts more than basically anything else. If you got the submission in and the time runs out, that wins you the round. You had it locked in. He lost to Gamrot, lost to Islam, yet people are saying Arman's the next champion, he's going to beat Islam, but then nobody can give Stipe a shot against Jones, even though Jones has 1 fight at heavyweight. Before that, he arguably lost to Reyes. He didn't look incredibly fast against Cyril. In fact, he looked sloppy and overweight. Stipe is lean. He's 250 pounds, 55 pounds of muscle. He's got knockout power. He's used to fighting in this weight class. He dominated the behemoth of Francis Ngannou the first time they fought. And he beat an Olympic wrestler twice in Daniel Cormier. He defeated Alistair Overeem, who's an incredible kickboxing career. He defeated Junior Dos Santos, who had defeated him before. He's defeated incredible jiu-jitsu guys like Verdum. This guy's done it all at heavyweight. He's won his championship back after losing it. He never got a chance to win the trilogy fight against Ngannou, and I'm not saying he was going to win it, but he never got the chance to fight for it. And people are acting like John Jones is just going to breeze through him. And not just John Jones, anybody that you put against him, Tom Aspinall, Pavlovich, anyone that you put up in the heavyweight division, Curtis Blades, Volkov, people are acting like anyone would just blow through Stipe. And not just now that he's going to be 42, but after Ngannou beat him, it's like everyone else can just breeze through him because Ngannou KO'd him. Put some respect on this man's name. I'm picking Stipe to beat John Jones.